Hello and welcome to Roadmap 2019, our platform where we engage with major stakeholders in Nigeria's journey to the general elections. I am Ladi Akeredoluwale. Thanks for joining us. On today's edition, my guest says Nigeria's legislative arm of government is mostly misunderstood because the public doesn't really know too much about it. My guest also says political parties should know that they must meet some standards of success in next year's polls if they are to continue to exist. Now, please join us as we talk to the Deputy President of Nigeria's Senate, Senator Ekweremadu. Your Excellency, thank you very much for joining us.
A pleasure.
Time.
Good meeting you.
Now, let me start from the most current things. In the very, very recent past, there have been two major issues that have concerned you. The first was the attempt on you within your residence, which of course you reported to the police. And what's the situation with that? Let me start with that.
Well, thank you so much for this concern. I'm sure you're aware the matter is under investigation, so I'm not going to dwell much on it. Just to say that it was an unfortunate incident. God saved myself, my wife, and my son. And I want to thank well-wishers, friends, and colleagues who have shown a lot of concern since this happened. And because my concern is that if it could happen to me, I wonder what is the situation with other people, what's their fate. So I just believe that we need to ensure that everybody is given sufficient protection, whether you're in government or out of government, because that is the responsibility of government to make sure that everybody is well secured. So that's my concern. So, but I'm happy that a lot has been said, by my own friends, my colleagues about this matter, and I do hope that the police will get to the root of the matter.
Now, the second issue has to do with a court case that has something to do with assets or non-assets declaration. What's the situation with that?
Well, some part of it are still in court, but just to update you, first of all, the Court of Appeal gave a judgment in respect of a similar matter in which they said that the presidential panel on recovery of government properties had no powers to file action against anybody, and because that's essentially the business of the Code of Conduct Bureau and the Code of Conduct Tribunal. That is from the legal angle. In terms of reality and facts, I have nothing to worry about, because what the law wants me to do is to declare all my assets to a body known as the Code of Conduct Bureau, and I did exactly that. So as far as I'm concerned, I have nothing to worry about. I don't have any corruption case as far as I'm concerned. I've done exactly what the law wants me to do. So it's just part of the things you find. You find yourself in when you are in politics. So it's all politics anyway. So it's just a smear campaign. But as far as I'm concerned, my hands are clean, and I did exactly what the law wants me to do.
Now, let me take you from there straight now to national matters. The role of the Southeast in national politics. Today, you are the most senior Southeasterner in the Nigerian political structure as it is. There are so many calculations here and there about people talking about the Southeast wanting to produce the next president in 2023 after this election and what it would take to get there. Your party, the PDP, of course, controls more of the states in the Southeast at this point. And one is wondering, for someone like you, what's your thinking about all this? Is it just politics, or is it really an agenda of the Southeast to seek that highest office, either during the next set of elections, not 2019, 2023, or is there a much bigger, broader plan in mind?
Well, let me just say this. No part of this country, no one part of Nigeria can decide to take the presidency and they'll succeed in taking it. You see, what has happened over the years is that the presidency of the country, Nigeria, is dependent on the mood of the nation. So in 1979, the mood of the nation at the time was for a certain president from the western part of Nigeria. And that was how Obasanjo became the president. Now, of course, in 2007, when he was leaving office, again, not only that the PDP has zoned his presidency to the north, again, it was also the mood of the nation that a northerner would be the president, and that happened. Now, when President Yar'Adua died, and Goodluck concluded his tenure and ran for one more term, and then he wanted to run again in 2015. I'm sure that you also know that the mood of the nation then was that the next president will also come from the north. So it wasn't just about Jonathan or Buhari. That was exactly the mood of the nation. So my projection is that in 2023, that the mood of the nation will be a president of an Igbo extraction.
Now, your party
Yes.
has nominated a running mate for its presidential candidate in this cycle from the Southeast. And Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, the candidate, has said he will serve only one term. That seems to fit in very neatly with the 2023 permutations. Is that really what's going on?
Well, again, as I said, we have to do everything we can to continue to maintain the unity of this country. And everybody just has to make sacrifice to ensure that that happens. So Buhari will be finishing a 4-year term by 2019. If he wins, then he can only do one more term of 4 years. And then probably they'll expect, even from his own family, that the next president will come from the South. Now, if Atiku wins, he understands clearly too that because in the APC, there is this probably expectation that the next president will come from the Southeast. So it only makes political sense for him to commit himself to one term. So if he says he wants to do for one term, I think again that will resonate with the mood of the nation when it comes to 2023. So I'm sure that everybody is beginning to see the need and the wisdom in ensuring that every part of Nigeria is accommodated at the highest office of the land.
Now, we'll return to that political permutation and indeed other permutations.
Okay.
Let me bring you to your area of expertise, if I may use that phrase now, which is the legislature, where you've been Deputy Senate President for the last almost a dozen years, 12 years, which in itself is some kind of unusual reckoning, because in the first almost a decade of the Senate, there was this high turnover of principal officers. How do you think the legislature has fared? People have talked about, how the presidency has fared, how the judiciary has fared, but not so much attention has been paid to the legislature, which in fact may be, in some respects, the most important arm of the government when it comes to ensuring security of lives, good governance, and so on. How has it fared in your view?
Well, let me thank you. You see, the point here is that the legislature all over the world will usually be misunderstood. It's not peculiar to Nigeria, even in America, in the UK, everywhere. Parliament is usually mostly misunderstood. And then, so people don't give them the respect they deserve or accord them their dues in terms of what they've done to ensure national cohesion and then the progress of the nation. So for us in Nigeria, I think we've done a bit. We've done some, if I can say we've done well, given the fact that the parliament has suffered a lot of setback. Usually all this period of military interventions and interregnum, what has happened is that the parliament will be scrapped, and then you have the judiciary, you have the executive going forward. So there have been distortion in the growth of the parliament in Nigeria because of military interventions. So we'll be proud to say that we've done well in spite of those setbacks. If you look at most of the laws, that provided the legal and legislative architecture, for our country, they've all likely been done in the last 16 years. We're talking about the fight against corruption. It's on record that the EFCC Act, the ICPC Act, Code of Conduct, Bureau Act, all of them were passed in the last 16 years. Things had to do with the Nigerian Communication Commission, all of those things were done in the last 16 years. Setting, the possible structures that provided the boom in telecommunication in Nigeria. And a whole number of very important legislations. We've amended the number of ones, two new ones had come, both as executive bill and private member bill. But I think the most important thing we've done is that the ability, to amend our ground of the Constitution. People had tried in the past to do that, it didn't happen, but over the last 10 years, since 2008, we've done a bit in trying to ensure, that we structure our Constitution, because of the experience we've had since 1999 when we started operating that Constitution. We discovered that there are certain parts of the Constitution that needs to be altered in order to provide good governance for our people. And we've done a lot in that regard since 2008, especially in 2010, 2011, and then of course we've done the last one.
Even more recently.
Yeah, recently we've done a lot in that regard.